to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Monday, June the 2nd. I am your host, Mike Oliva. First show of June. We got a big one today as there is a lot going on in the world of the Miami Dolphins. We got some news, we got some rumors, and we're going to do a deep dive into what an NFL insider said on Sports Illustrated about the Dolphins. And we got so much stuff that I just don't want to waste too much more time. So let's get into a few of the business things we got to do first. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the video. Also hit the little alert bell as well so you're notified whenever a new show drops. Also a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Go to the website caneswear.com for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. They have Miami Dolphins hats and t-shirts and polos and swim trunks and jerseys and jackets and anything you want for the home, office, or to wear when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. If you're in South Florida, stop by their store at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. They also got stuff for the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. They got stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, the Miami Marlins, the Miami Heat, and all of the professional teams in South Florida, as well as a few of the other college teams, not the Hurricanes. But when it comes to the Dolphins, if you need something, Father's Day's coming up, go to caneswear.com. Get good old dad something with the Miami Dolphins logo on it there. Okay, let's get right into the news. First bit of news, a little roundabout tie-in with the Dolphins. Offensive tackle, free agent offensive tackle, Jedrick Wills, who has been rumored to possibly sign with the Dolphins. And there was even a rumored report that wasn't confirmed that he took an official visit with the Dolphins. Jordan Schultz, NFL insider today, he put out a report that Wills' knee is so bad that he won't play at all this year, or he might only play a little bit this year at the end of the season, if at all. So I know the Miami Dolphins are looking for offensive line depth because their offensive line has no depth, and he was one of the names out there that's a possibility. Sounds like if he's going to take the year off, or if he's not going to be ready till, late November or the first part of December, not really an option for the Dolphins. So you can cross him off the list if you're a fan sitting here waiting for the Dolphins to make a move. And I do wonder with that news now if this sort of pushes Miami back into possibly re-signing Isaiah Wynn. Not that Wynn is anything great by any means, but it's an option for him, and I think they need something on the offensive line. In other offensive line news, the Miami Dolphins made it official today that Teron Armstead was placed on the reserved retired list, and so his time in the NFL is now over. And the way this all played out, it worked out for both sides here. It was a very classy and professional thing that Armstead did with his contract to restructure it when he did to give Miami cap space. And it was a very classy and professional thing that the Miami Dolphins did here because they have to eat some money on the cap, not much with Armstead here, but just to let him have more time to make that call, not rush him into a call. So both sides handled this with the utmost class, and Armstead was a hell of a career, and he is now officially on the reserved retired list. Ramsey, it is Monday night, June 2nd, about 8:15 as I record this. What's going on with Jalen Ramsey? Well, right now, nothing. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, he had a report, and he said that that Ramsey has the Rams on his radar. It's almost like he's a free agent. He's calling the shots, not the Dolphins or not the other team. Per Jeremy Fowler, Ramsey has the Rams on his radar for a potential landing spot, but there's no movement yet between the Rams and the Miami Dolphins. Fowler said Miami is expected to trade him in the coming days and weeks. I would push back on that a little. Jeremy Fowler does not need me to push back on anything, but I have a feeling this might go into the summer months. I would not be shocked if Ramsey is still on the Miami Dolphins roster in late June. I would not be shocked if this goes past the 4th of July. I would not be shocked if this goes right up to the start of training camp in late July. Because here's the problem. The contract is just so difficult to move. And it's not like the sides are arguing over like what Miami's going to get in return. They're going to get a 5th, maybe a 4th. And if it's a 6th, whatever. It's not about that. It's about how much money Miami is willing to eat on a $20 million contract. There is not a team out there in May or now in June after free agency, after the draft, that wants to add a $20 million player, especially one who is going to be 30 years old. And, his best days are behind him. He's not bad now, but his best days are behind him. You're getting him now on the downside of his career. So for a year, that's a lot of money. So I don't think there's going to be this rush look, it only takes one team. So if one team picks up the phone and says, you eat X amount, we'll give you this. And if Miami says works for us, it's done. But I got a feeling this might go on because what's the rush? Like, we're June 2nd. What's hit? OTAs mean nothing. Once we're done with OTAs and mini camp, you got the second half of June where nothing happens, and pretty much all of July up until the final few days when training camp and guys start to show up for that. What's the rush? If you're a team like the Rams, if we trade for him now or if we trade for him on July 20th, who cares? Nothing's happening. Literally nothing's happening. So they can wait Miami out to make Miami eat more money on a deal. And I think all the teams who might have some interest in Ramsey are just going to wait Miami out. There's no rush for this trade to happen now. I know as a fan, you want to see it happen now. Ramsey's gone. Move on. We'll sign someone else out there. Who knows who? But let's just have a clean break. There's a lot of money involved. And I know, they've been talking probably for weeks because this isn't something that just happened suddenly. But I hope his report is right, Jeremy Fowler, that something happens in the coming next few days or next week or two, because I don't want to talk about this for another 6 or 8 weeks. But I wouldn't be shocked if we are talking about this for another 4, 5, 6 weeks. Something like that. I would not be shocked. That's all I'm saying. Tyreek Hill's name has been floating out because now we're past June 1st. So, all bets are off here. And I know, the salary cap stuff, even with Hill, is not great. If you trade, and look, they're not going to trade Hill. I mean, I don't think they are, but I know Albert Breer, he put up a message in his Monday morning quarterback column. If I can find it, I'll read it. Let me see if I can find it. And also Jeremy Fowler comment. Okay, from Albert Breer, with the efforts to deal Jonnu Smith and Ramsey, it's fair to wonder where the Miami Dolphins might stand on the possibility of trading Tyreek Hill. Hill's 31, and his numbers were way down last year. If this is going to be a reset year anyway, leaves it open-ended. Like, why not trade him? And again, I think Miami would trade him. It's just who's going to offer anything for him because of all the headaches off the field and such. Jeremy Fowler said that the Miami Dolphins can save $15 million on the cap if they trade him now. And also remember, Hill's contract, late August, has a big signing bonus that if he's on Miami's radar, they have to pay it. If they were to trade him, say, tomorrow, his new team would have to pay it. But Jeremy Fowler thinks that Hill will stay in Miami and no trade is going to happen now, which, again, that is the conventional wisdom. I agree. The only thing I'd say is late October, first week of November, NFL trade deadline, unless Miami's like 7-1 or something, that's where I think they're going to send Hill packing. Because taking on Hill's contract's a lot of money. Taking on Hill is a lot in general. He's one big giant headache, pain in the ass. But there's going to be a team. Maybe it's the Ravens. Maybe it's the Lions. There's going to be a team that thinks this is our year to win a Super Bowl. We are one piece away. And they're going to talk themselves into, you know what? I know he's a pain in the ass. I know he's nuts. But we'll take Hill and let's try and win it this year and worry about him after this year. We only need him to stay out of trouble for half a year and just give us, 7 or 8 big games and show up in the playoffs. I think that's when the Dolphins are going to pull the plug on Hill, late October or so, right around the trade deadline. We'll see. That's a long ways away, obviously. Even if the Dolphins, let's say 5-2, 5-3, I could still see them pulling the trigger on that move and driving fans nuts because that's going to be their best shot to trade him and get decent value in return. It really is. Jonnu Smith. Nothing new here. Drew Rosenhaus is his agent. Was on with Josh Moser Sunday night and his weekly spot on TV, and per Rosenhaus pretty much said what we already know. Jonnu would definitely like to stay in Miami. That's his first choice. He went to college at FIU. His dream team is the Dolphins. Hopefully everything works out where he can stay in Miami. So he's just saying all the right things. Look, you look at what Miami's done this offseason, and we're going to talk about that soon, do a little bit of a deep dive. They've done literally nothing. I mean, they did nothing in free agency, spent no real money. They restructured nobody's contract. They literally spent zero money, and they didn't even restructure any deals to open up, any salary cap space to go out there and add to this team and make it significantly better. They really didn't at all. And I find it hard pressed. Now we're in June. You're going to see Chris Greer and whoever else is in charge say, you know what? Now we're gonna spend some money. Jonnu, you deserve that, right? No, it ain't happening. I mean, if they did that, it just shows how clueless and unorganized this organization is to literally go through all of March, all of April, all of May, do nothing to significantly upgrade your team, and then in June say we're going to give Jonnu Smith an extension and a raise. It ain't happening. I think they're going to trade Jonnu Smith. I think Jonnu Smith probably and any notion that Jonnu just wants a small raise, I think is silly. I think it's beyond silly. He wants to get paid. This is his last big payday, and he wants to get paid. And if it's not going to be Miami, trade him to a team that is going to pay him. And obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers were linked. We'll see if it ends up being them. But yeah, I think I'd be very look. Once again, that might be a trade that goes into the summer months. Again, what's the rush to trade him now? Nothing's happening. Nobody cares about OTAs. Nobody cares about mini camps. Jonnu Smith has been around the league for many years. He's played for many teams. He'll pick up an offense. If he goes to Pittsburgh, he's already played in that offense. It's because the same offensive coordinator is there that he played with before. He'll be fine. There's no rush for any of these trades. So fans of Dolphins, if you're sitting there refreshing social media every 5 minutes, go outside and touch some grass. I don't know if anything's going to happen anytime soon. Really. All right, before I get to the second part of today's show, shout out to everyone listening at FinHeaven.com. Everyone go to FinHeaven.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Audible, or YouTube, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Going to probably have 3 to 4 shows this week alone. Got some special. I know on Thursday night I already got lined up a special guest, and I might have another surprise later this week as well to sort of have on as a guest. So be on the lookout for that. And also, if you haven't signed up yet for Dolphins Talk Extra, Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, $3 a month. You get bonus podcasts about the Dolphins, some not about the Dolphins. Access to a private message board that is way more common, way more normal than any social media channel out there. And we run a ton of contests where you can win autographs of Miami Dolphins players. You can win Miami Dolphins apparel. You can win Miami Dolphins memorabilia, all for $3 a month. You spend more on that on a cup of coffee. You spend more on that than a hamburger one day at lunch. Sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra, Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Okay. Second part of the show, I got clips. Sports Illustrated, Albert Breer, Connor Orr. They're two most senior NFL reporters. They're going through each team now here in these slow months of the offseason and doing a little bit of a deep dive. And they did the Miami Dolphins today. And look, one thing about this podcast, if you're listening, we don't bullshit you. As I always say, not hating, just stating. We tell you the truth. When things are good, we say they're good. When things are bad, we say they're bad. We don't sugarcoat stuff to blow smoke up your ass just because we're pandering for likes and clicks. I've never pandered for a like or a click before, and I ain't going to start now. And I say that because these next, I got 5 clips. Most of them are about 2 minutes in length. And I'm going to play each one, and then I'll comment after each one. I think it's the most brutally honest assessment of the Miami Dolphins organization. Now, I know some of these clips are probably going to rub some of you the wrong way. You're going to go, I can't believe they said that. They can't be serious. I get it. It's tough to hear sometimes critical things about your team. I get it. But just because it's critical doesn't mean it's wrong. Again, not hating, stating. And I got 5 clips here. 4 of them are about 2 minutes. One of them is only about like a half a minute. The first one is Connor Orr and Albert Breer talking about if the Miami Dolphins this season, upcoming 2025, are in a reset year. Here's what they had to say, and then I'll comment afterwards.
The Miami Dolphins are probably the hardest team to talk about in the NFL at this point, because I don't know what the plan is. I would guess our boss Peter King used to always say this: if we can give Mike McDaniel sodium pentothal and ask him this question, right? But is this really who he wants at quarterback going into the season? And I'm sick of the vitriol that comes from people asking this question. It's a legitimate question, and
yeah,
you're still not making any meaningful upgrades to this scheme that and I think that Mike McDaniel is probably one of the most brilliant play callers in the NFL, but there's no meaningful difference to your offense year in and year out, and it just keeps breaking down.
I'm going to ask you a pointed question that I think will tell you a lot about your own feelings on the team. If someone comes and offers a first-round pick for Tyreek Hill, do you trade him?
Yes.
And I think that tells you everything about where that team is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just think I feel like they've gotten to the point now where it's just I think we know what they are with this core of players, and I think they've subtly started to tell us, in peeling off some pieces, that they need to reset, and it's time for them to kind of rebuild in some areas. I think we all assume Jalen Ramsey probably won't be on the team in September. Obviously Jalen Phillips has been hurt.
Jalen Ramsey's certainly assuming it. He's already said goodbye to the franchise, which is a tough move,
Yeah. I mean, where are you at with Bradley Chubb? I think obviously like Chop Robinson is the future with the edge guys that they've invested a lot in those positions, and the older two guys have been really beat up. Teron Armstead is gone, and you're rolling the dice with a second round pick and Patrick Paul at that position. This feels like they're subtly, maybe even not so subtly, like resetting. And so,
yep. So with that first clip, I agree with everything they just said. Every word of it was so spot on. It's scary for two people who cover the league, don't just cover one specific team. Number one, Mike McDaniel's offense does break down at the end of each year. It does, teams catch on. Always comes out of the gate strong, and then by like mid-October or so, starts to slow down. By the end of the year, everyone knows what's going to happen, and the offense just falls apart. And the fact that Tua, here's the thing about Tua. Yes, if you asked Mike McDaniel, no cameras around, just be totally honest. He'd say, of course he wants a better quarterback. Tua hasn't lived up to the fifth overall pick of the draft, period. When you take a quarterback 5 overall, you want better. And, he's always hurt, and he comes up small on the road and in big games. So everything said in that clip is spot on, 100% right, that this is a reset year too, because as I've said on previous shows, and I won't harp on it here, look at what they've done this offseason. They let talented guys walk away, or they are trading away, and they haven't replaced, that secondary. We talk about it a lot. Ashton Davis is not a starter. Ifedi Melifonwu not a starter. They're going to force him to start, and they're going to be really, really bad. They don't have a starting caliber cornerback on their roster. Kader Kohu in the nickel, okay. Outside of that, and anyone they sign, because there's nobody out there who's any good, even if they sign Asante Samuel, he's not any good. They're not going to have a starting caliber cornerback. The offensive line, Armstead to Paul, I know Armstead's always hurt. That's a downgrade. You look at, and then their big signing in James Daniels coming off an Achilles. Who knows when he's going to be ready? I know what they say. That don't mean they're sitting there telling you the truth. So this roster is downgraded so much. Yeah, it's a reset year. And if you don't think it is, you're just lying to yourself. You're lying. And again, not hating, stating. Now, they look at the roster, and in the next clip, they talk about how many players on this 2025 Miami Dolphins team will actually still be on the team in just 2 years. not 5 years, in just 2 years from now, how many guys on this team will still be on the team? Here's what they said.
The Dolphins fans aren't going to like to hear this, but for me, like I think like feeling good about this team is almost doesn't tie to wins and losses. It almost ties more to how do you feel about the young players on your team as a group to build around. And so it's like I look at the guys that will be there in 2 years. Like I think this is usually the way you want to think about it when a team's in this spot. It's like how many of these players are going to be there in 2027? Jalen Waddle, Chop Robinson, and Kenneth Grant's their first round picks this year. So you assume he's going to be there. How many other guys do you look at on that team and you say, yeah, like that guy's going to be there in 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, can't argue anything there either, because I'll tell you this. Now, look, there's going to be a few other names who are there, but he's talking about your core players, your starters. How many starters are going to be there in 2 years? I'll tell you right now, Austin Jackson probably won't be there in 2 years. With the way that his contract is set up and how he's always hurt, he ain't going to be there. The quarterback for damn sure ain't going to be there in 2 years. That we know for a fact. Patrick Paul, if he's really good this year, there's a chance he will be. Jonas Anavea, if he's really good, yes, he will be. But on the opposite side, Jordan Brooks probably won't be. Sealer probably won't be. Grant will, which he said. I mean, you're talking like out of your starters of this year's team, like 3 or 4 guys will be on the team in 2027. That's pathetic. Like, that's really pathetic. I mean, and it goes and leads to the first point that this is a reset year. This team, yes, it has talent, but Chubb ain't going to be here in 2 years. Jalen Phillips, with all his injuries, do you think Miami is going to give him a long-term deal this year or after this year? Probably not. He won't be here. There's just not much there to build around long-term in Miami, and that's the point there. The next one, and this clip, again, is probably going to rub a lot of fans the wrong way, but if you just listen to what they say, talking about the Miami Dolphins quarterback room and Tua Tagovailoa and why they brought Zach Wilson in, this clip I'm about to play, once again, pretty spot on.
You know, I mean, I was there the night that Tua had the concussion, and it's hard for me to look at it any other way than like this thing still seems tenuous, like in where they are and where they're going forward, and you know, like what that contract says. Like I'm still not sure. I mean, I don't know. Like you put Zach Wilson on that roster, and I know Zach had a really good year in Denver last year. Quietly, you know, like behind the scenes, they really liked him, and obviously they've got their quarterback of the future. But I think the people in Denver would tell you, like, there's some hope for Zach Wilson. That's a guy who is talented enough to be the second pick in the draft, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to go through some sort of career renaissance, but when you line the guys up in training camp, like Tua might not be the most talented guy. You know what I mean? Like, so that part of it, I think, is really interesting too. You know, are they looking for an escape hatch? Because instead of adding, I mean, and I think like you can sometimes kind of go on these things and look at it and say, all right, like, what does this acquisition say to me? And they could have put someone in that room with Tua as like a resource to him, like the Josh McCown type. And I don't know who that would have been, but they could have found somebody to put in that room. Case Keenum, you know?
Right.
Like Case Keenum to me is like he's the guy who you look at and say, like, yeah, like you put him in the room and then you're giving your young quarterback a chance to continue to study and to work with your guys, you know, even off hours. You know what I mean? Like, can you find like, and instead of doing that, they put a guy who's trying to save his career, who's really talented in the room with them.
Right.
You know? I don't know. I look at little things like that, and I think that's at least very interesting to me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, once again, 100% what they're saying. And again, these guys have no dog in the fight. They're not covering the Miami Dolphins day in and day out. They cover the entire league. Albert, he's been covering the league forever. They're not wrong. Nothing they're saying is wrong here in that Zach Wilson, he's coming here to save his career, turn it around. He ain't coming here to help Tua. If you do go out there and sign Josh McCown or a Case Keenum type, they know they're number 2. They're not here to push a number 1. They're here to be number 2, to work with the number 1, work with him. Hey, I'm seeing this, that, and the other. Here's the game plan this week. I'm seeing this. Zach Wilson's here to be like, I'm here to play. And look, I'm not saying he will. Tua is making all the money. He's going to play. But Zach Wilson ain't here to help Tua. That's the point. He's here to help Zach. Where if you sign someone else, they're there to help Tua. They didn't sign someone to help Tua. They signed someone to help themselves. And that's the point being made there. And that what Miami did this offseason in their quarterback room is they brought in someone who's there for himself to sit behind Tua, not there for someone who's going to cater to Tua, which is, again, it's just interesting to see. Don't look, no one's saying Tua is not going to be the starter. No one's saying it's an open job in camp and he might lose the job. No one's saying that. The point is they did a pivot in how they built the room, and that's just interesting for a team that's clearly in a transition right now and is going through a reset. Now, this next clip, we got two more. I don't agree with this next one at all. So I will push back a lot on this. It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds about Greer and McDaniel. Who do you move forward with after this year? Now, look, I know a lot of you listening and say, get rid of them both and bring all new people in, which I am with you. But they talk about if you have to move forward one, who are you moving forward with? So I'll play this clip and I'll share some thoughts.
But if I'm a Dolphins fan, I come out of this year happy because again, Mike McDaniel's extended through the 28th season, and either Chris Greer has a come to Jesus moment here, or McDaniel gets to pick someone who's going to be more of a funnel to the kind of personnel that he likes on the roster, and that includes the quarterback position. Like, I think that McDaniel needs his own John Lynch in this scenario, right? And he kind of needs everybody rowing in the same direction in a personnel sense for that.
Yeah, I think it's you have to evaluate all of that. You have to evaluate, are we, like, in the time that McDaniel has been here, are we putting enough players that fit what he wants on the roster, and is the synergy where it needs to be? And is Chris Greer really serving the coaching staff that way? I think that's a fair and open question. That's why there have been rumors about his own job security over the last couple of years.
Let me ask it this way, right? Okay.
Yeah.
He's been the GM of this team since 2016.
Okay, yeah, but he really became the guy, I think, in 19. Wasn't that what it was?
Okay, so you can
because
say
Tannenbaum was there.
Tannenbaum was there, right?
Right, and then I think when Flores became the head coach, he became the top personnel guy. So that would have been 19, I believe.
Okay, since 19, do you have an answer? Do you have a long-term answer at your ankle or your anchor tackle position? The answer is no.
We have
not
no
right
idea.
now. At least we don't know. Do you have a long-term answer at number one corner? You're about to trade him, so no. Do you have an identity? I guess, kind of. You know.
You do have a number one receiver who he drafted, Jalen Waddle, long-term. You do have a number one pass rusher. It looks like we'll see.
And Chop Robinson, is
we'll see,
good.
But it looks like it's trending that way.
And do you feel secure at the quarterback position?
And that's the big question.
Yeah. And there's actually more to that clip. I couldn't clip the entire thing where they are big fans of McDaniel, and I'm just not. I just think McDaniel's not a great coach. I think he's actually one of the worst coaches in the league. He's had a lot of talent the past couple of years, and he's been unable to, win anything of substance with it. Winning 9 games and sneaking in the playoffs is not winning anything of substance. Greer, look, I don't want either one of them. I think they're both terrible at their jobs, but the McDaniel needs his own John Lynch and this, that, and the other. It's just, I don't care who the GM is. Mike McDaniel's not going to win. And so I don't necessarily agree with what they say there. Last clip, they talk about long-term. Look, if you're a fan who thinks they're going to win the AFC East this year, or they're going to compete with the Bills, or they're going to be like a top wild card spot, that's fine. You fan any way you want to fan. I don't want to crush your dreams. You sit there and you be a fan any way you want to be a fan. But, I think if you take off the homer glasses for a second and look at this rationally, this roster is really not that good for all the reasons I've said earlier in the show. For the best long-term health of the Dolphins, they have a conversation about what outcome would be the best this year if they go 9-8, 8-9, maybe miss the playoffs or win or sneak in the playoffs but just don't win, or if they go like 4-13, just bottom out, get a top pick, and then just start this whole thing over. And it's an interesting conversation, so I'll play it now.
You know what? Like, I just looking at their depth chart and looking at where they're at, and looking at the players they're offloading. So much is going to come down to me to like how they feel about like their young core going forward. And is there something there to build around coming out of the year? Because their actions tell us this is a reset year for them. And I like the last few years, they've been the second best team in the division. I don't really think they're the second most talented roster in the division right now.
Yeah. I mean, God, if they come out of this year and this is going to sound insane, but if they win 4 games, like, okay, so let me ask you this. If you're a Dolphins fan, would you rather 9-8 or 8-9 again this year? Maybe you make the playoffs. Maybe you don't make the playoffs. You're still not sure about the quarterback position. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are still banged up down the stretch.
For sure.
Would you take that, or would you take 4-math is hard for me, 4-13, but Kenneth Grant is a beast, and
Chop Robinson has 13 sacks.
Robinson has 13
and Patrick
sacks.
Paul is entrenched at left tackle and looks like he can really play.
Now, granted, if that's the case, then you probably would win more than 4 games. But it's like, right. But okay, even 2 of those 3, even let's just say this: 4-13,
right,
5-12, whatever it is.
Well,
but the defense is good. Kenneth Grant and Chop Robinson are good
because we're talking about premium positions, right?
Yeah,
because like, if you have your premier pass rusher, your premier interior defensive lineman, your number 1 receiver, your left tackle, well, then that means you're going into the draft with like some flexibility to take the best player. You know what I mean? And maybe then like, okay, like we've got a corner need. Is there a number 1 corner? We're freed up to take that guy because we've got these other positions taken care of. Yeah. I mean, it sucks for a fan base to have to swallow that. Like, I'm going to go into the season rooting for my team, but really this is more about like what it looks like in 27 and 28, but it sort of feels like that's where they're at.
Yeah. And in a Magic fantasy world, if you gave me an option today on June 2nd that the Miami Dolphins finish 9-8, either miss the playoffs or they're out in round 1, or they go 4-13 or 5-12 and they got a top 5 pick, give me the 4-13, 5-12, and top 5 pick. Because I've seen this core with Hill, Tua, and everyone else involved not win when they've had more talented teams. And I think we know Hill's going to be gone after this year. We know the quarterback's here for this year, maybe one more year after that, then he's going to be gone. There's no future with this core. So, yeah, if I had those 2 options in some Magic fantasy world, yeah, I'll take the 4-13 because then we're starting the process of possibly being good. And I know it's easy to laugh at that comment, but what do you want to do? Spin your wheels in the mud and keep watching our quarterback get hurt, our head coach fail, our wide receiver be a crazy person off the field and stuff. I mean, it's like the same people just watching the same thing over and over again. There's not the result won't change. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. At least if we sort of bottom this out, we got hope with hopefully a new head coach, new GM, new quarterback, and we'll see where that goes. So yeah, I just thought, and the whole 12-minute video, I just played a few minutes of it. The whole 12-minute video, there's much more. Go to the website, DolphinsTalk.com. I got the whole video up there. All 12 minutes. Take the 12 minutes and watch it. Because, again, you don't have to agree with everything they said. But, again, they have no dog in the fight. They don't care if the Miami Dolphins are good or bad. I know a lot of fans like, he hates Miami. No, they don't hate Miami. They literally don't care. They cover every team. They're having this type of conversation about 32 NFL teams. So they don't hate every team. They don't love every team. They're looking at the roster. They're looking at what's there. They're looking at the past. They're looking at the future, saying this is what they are. This is what they hope to be. Can they be that? Yes or no? If it's no, how do they fix it? And that's an open and honest, unbiased conversation about the Dolphins that I found very interesting. So I wanted to share it on today's show. That's all for today's show. Thank you for listening. As always, be sure to check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. Got a bunch of great new articles up there. When news breaks, especially on Ramsey or Jonnu, which could happen at any moment, we're going to have it up there on the website. Make sure you're following us on social media at Dolphins Talk on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, anywhere else. And, of course, TikTok. Dolphins Talk Military Fan of the Year contest. You got till July 7th to submit your entries. If you've served in the military or if you're serving now, you have a chance to win 2 tickets, a parking pass, and $100 to any Miami Dolphins home game this year. All the information's up on our social media. It's up on our website, DolphinsTalk.com. I've been tweeting it out over and over again. Be sure to check it out. Submit your entry so you have a chance to win that great prize. And that's it for this Monday night. Everyone have a great Monday night. Have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you again after a while. Folks, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity. Hey everyone, Mike here from DolphinsTalk.com. Real quick, I just want to give a thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, just want to say thank you for all the support you provide us here at DolphinsTalk.com and have over the many years. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's much appreciated. Without you, there would be no us. I know there are so many other podcast options out there these days, whether it's true crime, the NBA, Major League Baseball, news, politics, and of course, other Miami Dolphins podcasts as well. We really do appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day, each and every day, to watch our stuff here at DolphinsTalk.com. Also, if you like this show and want more content from us, please be sure to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. We have a private message board where you can interact with only extra members and ourselves here, the staff at the website. We have extra podcasts about the Dolphins and also extra podcasts not about the Miami Dolphins. And we give away a ton of prizes. We have a ton of contests that are exclusive to Dolphins Talk Extra members. We give away autographs, memorabilia, jerseys, hats, all that fun stuff. So everyone, please be sure to go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. It's $3 a month. It's really cheap. You'll have a lot of fun. Trust me. But once again, thank you so much. Everyone have a great day.